Part 3. The Fireborn. Lyra didn't return to Ember. She couldn't. Not anymore. The fire in her hands, the whispering scroll, the shadowed figure all were signs that she stood at the edge of something vast and dangerous. Her path was no longer the quiet one of a village girl. She was being pulled into the ancient war of dragons, one that never truly ended. By the third day after escaping the ruins of Highwarden, she found herself deep in the Whispering Wastes, a desert of silver sand and bone-dry winds. Few dared cross it, for legend claimed it held the remains of fallen dragons, their restless spirits whispering to the living. The scroll had led her here. At night, under the shimmering stars, she camped among jagged rocks. Flames danced at her fingertips now without effort, and sometimes when she closed her eyes, she felt something stir beneath the sands. A heartbeat, deep and slow. On the fifth night, the sands stirred for real. The ground trembled beneath her. From the dunes rose the ruins of a forgotten temple, stone by stone, shaking free of centuries of dust. At its center stood a towering brazier, cold and empty. She stepped toward it, guided by instinct. From her satchel, she drew the scroll. As she approached the brazier, it began to glow faintly, and the scroll burst into golden fire. The words Ignis Vita Cordis burned into the air and faded. Suddenly, the brazier ignited. Golden fire leapt into the sky like a signal to the heavens. And Lyra heard a voice, not Ember's this time, but ancient, male, and powerful. She has returned. The flame bearer walks the earth once more. From behind her, a form emerged, tall, robed in fire-scorched robes, with skin like molten bronze and eyes of liquid amber. He was Kaelin, one of the last Fireborn, humans chosen by dragons in ages past to carry their flame and protect the balance between worlds. "I have waited for you, child," he said, bowing his head. "For the bearer of Ember's soul." Lyra blinked. "What do you mean, Ember's soul?" Kaelin's gaze softened. When Ember sealed Vireon, she split her essence. Half remains locked with him. The other, passed to the next generation. Into you. Lyra's breath caught. "So, I'm her, not her reborn," Kaelin said gently. "But her flame lives in you. Her courage, her will, and perhaps her power." Lyra didn't feel powerful. She felt small, scared, confused. "But why me?" Kaelin smiled. "The fire chooses whom it trusts, and it never chooses lightly." In the days that followed, Kaelin trained her, not with swords, but with flame. He taught her to listen to fire, to feel its hunger, its warmth, its wild joy. She learned to create fire that healed, fire that guided, and, if needed, fire that destroyed. Under his guidance, she unlocked memories that weren't hers, flying above mountains, whispering to trees, laughing with creatures that hadn't walked the earth in centuries. Ember's memories. They came in flashes, never complete, but enough to guide her. She learned that the heart of flame was real, Ember's core, hidden at the edge of the world, sealed away to ensure Vireon could never find it. It was the only power strong enough to fully awaken her, or to defeat Vireon if he escaped. And he would, because across the sea, Vireon's servants had already begun tearing open the veil that held him. Using blood magic, lost dragon relics, and the Crimson Eclipse's lingering energy, they weakened the seals day by day. Lyra had to reach the heart first. There was no time to waste. Kaelin summoned an ancient wind WRM, Nerith, old and wise, with feathers instead of scales and wings like sails. With her, Lyra soared into the sky for the first time, wind in her hair, fire in her veins. They flew over broken kingdoms, forgotten forests, and sleeping volcanoes. She saw how much of the world had changed, and how much still bore scars from Vireon's last reign of terror. But she also saw signs of Ember, tiny shrines built in her honor, fields glowing with dragon-blessed crops, and people who still believed in light. They gave her strength. On the 10th day of flight, they reached the shattered rim, the world's edge, where the land fell away into a storm-tossed sea and clouds spiraled endlessly into the horizon. At its center floated a single island, invisible to most, cloaked in mist and warded by old flame. But Lyra saw it clearly, the sanctum of Ember. As Nerith descended, the mists parted to reveal a temple of gold and stone, built around a massive pyre that burned with a steady golden flame. Lyra approached, heart pounding. She stepped into the circle, placed her hand upon the pyre, and the flame surged, engulfing her. But it did not burn. Instead, it sang. She saw Ember, trapped beneath the earth, wings folded in light, eyes closed in deep sleep. Chains of dark fire coiled around her, each pulsing with Vireon's power. "You found me," the dragoness whispered. "You are ready." And then the pyre's flame poured into Lyra, filling her with light, song, sorrow, and strength. When the fire cleared, she stood alone, her hair now streaked with gold, her eyes glowing faintly. Ember's power was hers now. But across the sea, Vireon broke his chains. His roar tore the sky in two. Part 4. Rise of the Dark Flame. Vireon was free. The moment the last seal shattered, a shockwave of heat and shadow spread from the Ashfang Mountains. Snow melted in seconds. Rivers turned black. Forests, once thick and green, shriveled like burnt parchment. The sky, once blue, now wore a strange red hue, like the world itself was blushing with fear. And high above it all, Vireon flew. His wings tore through clouds, each beat of them thunder in the ears of those below. His scales no longer gleamed black, they now shimmered with veins of crimson lava, pulsing like a heartbeat. His eyes had changed too, where once they were burning coals, now they were twin voids filled with endless fire. But he didn't fly alone. Around him swirled a storm of creatures not seen for centuries, ash drakes, corrupted cousins of dragons, reborn from smoke and bone, flame wraiths, once men twisted by dark fire, and the cinder marked. Humans who had pledged themselves to the dark flame in exchange for terrible power. Together, they began their march across the world. Cities fell within days. Towers crumbled. Rivers ran with ash, and hope flickered like dying candles. But in the west, above the shattered rim, a new fire burned. Lyra stood at the temple's edge, wind tugging at her golden cloak, the fire of Ember still coursing through her veins. The sanctum's flame had not only awakened her power, it had also shown her memories that Ember herself had sealed away. The truth of Vireon's fall. He hadn't always been cruel. In their youth, before darkness took him, Vireon had once saved entire villages from wildfires. He had flown through lightning storms to protect airships and sung ancient dragon songs that could bring the stars closer to Earth. But the world had feared him for his power, even when he used it for good. They had driven him away long before his heart turned cold. And that pain, that loneliness, had made him vulnerable to the Void Flame, a forbidden force older than even dragons, hidden beneath the crust of the world. It had whispered to him, fed his bitterness, and shaped his flame into something unnatural. Now, the Void Flame was fully awake. And it wanted more than the world, it wanted everything. Kaelin met her at the temple gates, eyes grim. "He's moving east. Toward the Veil." "The Veil of Kings?" Lyra asked. He nodded. "That's where the veil between worlds is weakest. If he reaches it, he'll use the Void Flame to tear open a permanent rift. Not even dragons could stop him then." Lyra looked toward the horizon, where smoke blackened the sky. Her fists clenched. "Then we stop him before he gets there." Kaelin smiled faintly. "You speak like Ember." "I am Ember," she said quietly. "And I will finish what she began." They flew together, Lyra on Nerith, Kaelin riding a storm eagle summoned from ancient runes. As they passed over cities in ruin, survivors looked up in awe and wonder. Some waved, others simply fell to their knees, whispering prayers they hadn't spoken in years. Hope was rising again. And not just among humans. In the mountain hollows and deep lakes, Old dragons stirred, those who had remained hidden since Ember's fall. Drawn by her flame, they emerged from slumber, bronze, silver, sapphire, and jade-winged elders called by the fire of their fallen kin. One by one, they joined her flight. By the time they reached the edge of the Vale of Kings, Lyra's sky was filled with fire once more. But Vireon was already there. The sacred ground was blackened now, its stones cracked, its rivers turned to steam. At its center, a massive spire of obsidian jutted from the earth, an altar of void flame, pulsing like a living thing. Vireon stood atop it, wings spread wide, eyes watching as Lyra descended. "You wear her fire," he said, voice like volcanic glass. "But you are not her." "No," Lyra replied, stepping forward. "I'm more." He laughed, a deep, hollow sound that echoed across the valley. "You think this ends in battle? You think this ends with me defeated and you a hero?" "I think it ends with a choice," she said, surprising even Kaelin. Vireon tilted his head. "Ember believed in you, even after everything. She loved you." "Love is weakness," Vireon spat. "Love let them turn on me. It let them fear me when I tried to protect them. Love is why I fell." "No," Lyra said, her voice steady. "You fell because you believed their fear was truth. But you were never alone. Ember was with you. Always." Vireon's eyes narrowed. For just a moment, the fire in them flickered, not out, but uncertain. And in that breath of silence, Lyra struck, not with blades or flame, but with memory. She raised her hands, and from her heart poured a vision, Ember's vision. A moment from centuries past, Vireon and Ember as young dragons, laughing as they shaped clouds into dancing beasts. A moment when the world had not yet broken them. Vireon staggered. The void flame pulsed angrily. It screamed through him, trying to tighten its grip. But for a heartbeat, the shadow loosened. And in that moment of clarity, Lyra saw him. The brother Ember remembered. Still buried, still burning. "Fight it," she whispered. "You're stronger than this." But the void flame fought back. The spire exploded in black fire, hurling Lyra across the stones. Vireon roared in agony as the dark flame twisted his body, enlarging his wings, blackening his horns. The last of his soul screamed for release. The final battle had begun.